Hi, it's Enoch, and this is my informative architecture series.
Hey, amazing. Enoch, let's jump right in with the first question, which is, how did you relate to the place that you grew up, and how do you think that has influenced your approach to design or life?
Yeah, so for those that don't know, I'm from Fort Langley, British Columbia, which is on the east end of the Metro Vancouver area in British Columbia.
Okay.
Best way to describe it is that it's vast farmland with a little bit of residential houses scattered here and there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cows, so if you can believe it, there's a lot of cow manure everywhere.
Yeah.
I will say it again, it's a lot of overbearing stench that comes with the Langley name. So that's where I grew up. And I would say that from that sort of bleak description I gave, I would have to say that sort of the sparseness of urban interest in those areas that I grew up in kind of informed a more so imaginative approach to how I like to approach design and I guess life in general, where I kind of have to fill in the blanks in terms of what it is that I'm seeking out in terms of like design interests and life interests.
That's super interesting. And clearly you've lived in like vast metropolitan cities. Like I know you were in Tokyo.
Yeah, I just came back from Tokyo like a month ago. So
yeah, how do places like that compare to being in Langley or Fort Langley? Sorry.
I definitely like those places a lot better. Anything is always a step up from literally being a footstep away from cow poo. But yeah, like I think just generally I've always gravitated towards urban centers because it's always just that sense of busyness in life that I've sought out as a result of being in very not as active neighborhoods. Yeah, wherever there's fun, you'll find me there, I guess.
That's awesome. All right, well, let's move forward a little bit. So you came to Waterloo for the Waterloo School of Architecture, and it is not an easy program, kind of intentionally, I guess. You know, you learn from the hardships.
Yeah.
But what would you say is one of the greatest challenges that you overcame during your undergrad?
Yeah, so I would say that for me, having to get used to the swing of things and the architecture program in general was quite difficult for me. I don't think I knew what I was really getting myself into when I applied. Like, I'm not sure if I told anyone this, but architecture was a really last minute decision for me where I actually prepared my application like a week before it was due, and same with my portfolio, prepared that a week before it was due. So the sort of 5 years that I spent was kind of like a whiplash last minute decision for me. So without that lack of research, I really didn't know what I was doing in first year. And I think that needing to sort of navigate that stuff by sort of myself was definitely like an adjustment I needed to make. But I think being able to reach out to other people and reach out to the resources available in terms of admin and sort of like student help definitely was the step I needed to take to help me address that.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Were there, like, I know peers can be a very important factor in going to this school, like the community that's created.
Yeah.
Were there any specific support systems like that you're extremely grateful to have had during your undergrad?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think definitely being able to have a counselor here on site at Waterloo Architecture definitely helped me through. I definitely used that a lot when I was in first year. Thankfully, I haven't had to rely on them as much anymore, but being able to talk to someone about what I was going through was definitely helpful. Being able to talk to sort of like people who are in the admin team, like she's not here anymore, but Donna was definitely a sweetheart for sure, and like definitely made sure I was, you know, valid and being heard in sort of my concerns. So
that's so good to hear. Because it can be so difficult, and there's so many times where it's possible to not feel heard. Yeah. So to find those people who actually connect with you, that's amazing. And especially like on the admin side, I know, like I've talked to a lot of people where that gap was never bridged. It's a hard thing to hear because, like, you know, they're there to help. Yeah. They want to help.
I would say that definitely there have been some sort of like disputes and I guess struggles when it comes to the admin team, because I can understand that people have specific things that they want addressed when coming to this program, and there's a lot of sort of frustrations when those interests don't get addressed. But I can empathize with the fact that a lot of people are trying their best on the admin team to help with that for sure. Certainly. Like, you know, everyone's human at the end of the day. Everyone's just trying to react in the best way that they know, and you know, sometimes it doesn't work out quite the best, but you know, at least people are trying, I guess.
Totally. And okay, well, speaking of trying, this is my wild card question for you.
Yeah.
Which is that I have never worked like super closely with you.
Yeah.
But as an outside observer, you seem to have a immensely strong work ethic. Like studio or one of the architecture courses seems to always be on your mind. It's something that you're always working on.
Yeah.
And it's obviously very impressive. Like it's inspiring to see someone who's bringing such like a strong effort to the studio. Mm-hmm. If you agree with that, where does your drive come from? You know, like how do you continue to push through all stages of the process?
That's a loaded question. I don't know. I would say like definitely when I was in like, I know growing up, like design wasn't really something that I was invested in as much. Like, I mean, I don't know. I like to draw things, but I guess that's the most it extended to. But I think like really coming into this program and trying kind of seeing like the full force of what design could offer is I kind of knew that at that moment, that once I realized what architectural design fully entailed, that's kind of what I like doing in my spare time. So to me, like, I guess, like, even though it looks like I'm just doing work to do work, like I actually do like what I do at the end of the day. Like, I don't know. I like designing buildings. Like I have a genuine like passion for that. Like it's what I enjoy doing. Like it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a dry answer to say, I don't know. I have drive because I like doing things, but
no, that's totally fair.
Yeah.
That's 100% fair.
Architecture it's not for everyone, but for me, I think it's definitely where I think I want to, like, it's what I want to do moving forward after coming out of this program. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. And I'm so happy that you found that. Mm-hmm. You know, especially coming from Fort Langley, where you said there's
Fort Langley,
there's no not no architecture, but there's no in-your-face architecture, I suppose.
No, definitely. Interesting thing about Fort Langley as well is that it's a heritage town, so it's they have very strict regulations about like what you can build there in terms of like new stuff. So it has to have, I don't know, like the feel of colonial like 1800s like settlers. So yeah, not the most interesting, but the lack of imagination there definitely influenced how I've sort of developed my own sense of architectural style, I guess.
Do you think that it's a place that you have seen influence your design style in any way, or is it through the inversion of that, like this, or the subversion of that you find your sensibilities, I guess?
The subversion is a good way of putting about it. Like I mentioned before, I'm always drawn to urbanity. Yeah. I'm always drawn to places that have like lots of like dense like urban activity and like sort of like urban chaos, as you will. Like I think that being able to really expose myself to that in relationship to sort of like my upbringing in Fort Langley definitely made me realize like that's where I want to be. Yeah. That's what I want to design for, sort of like big cities, big picture, urban centers.
Okay. And just to jump back to undergrad.
Yeah.
I'm curious what one of the most useful things you would say you've learned in your undergrad would be.
I would say something useful that I learned was being able to ask for help, if that makes sense. Because as much as, you know, the architect is seen as like an individual like person or an individual entity, I think that what made my program so distinctive for me was the people and sort of like the collaboration that came with, you know, being in like a class of other architects, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like I think that if I learned anything from this, it's that I know how to like communicate with others and that I know how to ask for help if I need it. And I think that that's often a skill that people struggle with when it comes to sort of the university level, is that oftentimes you're seen as like sort of one person in a sea of so many people that you often feel lost during like your first and second year. But I think being in this program definitely made me realize like how important it is to be like a part of a collective, if that makes sense.
And it can be so hard to take those steps to reach out or to, you know, make friends and things like that.
Absolutely.
But clearly it's you know, been so important and so essential. Mm-hmm. And I've got one more for you, which I think we already know the answer to. It's do you plan on becoming an architect?
I do. Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah. If that wasn't clear already. Yeah. I'd say like, yeah, architecture is where I want to go down. Like, I think being in this program for so long has only like really solidified my interest in it. Yeah. I mean, granted, there's areas that I like better than others. Like, I mean, I don't really like interior design. Yeah. I think like that's not for me. It's maybe for some people, not for me. But yeah, I think like architectural design, building design, that's what I want to go down.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense based on everything you said.
Yeah.
And my very last question for you is, if you had any advice for yourself in first year, anything that you would maybe try to shape in a different direction, or maybe not even, just things to notice, what would that advice for yourself in first year be?
I think this is advice I would not only give to myself, but just anyone coming into this program is don't take it too seriously. Like at the end of the day, you are here to learn, but it's also school. Like there's so much more important to like, you know, just being able to complete assignments, if that makes sense. Like being able to sort of find yourself as like who you are as a designer, but also as a person during your undergrad, in your sort of like formative years as an adult, is like sort of an important process that people don't realize. And I think that being able to sort of balance school and sort of like your personal life, but also understanding like what it is you want as a person, will be the most beneficial to you in like the long run.
If someone can figure that out in first year, or like genuinely take that advice to heart, or I can't even imagine what they could do.
You know? Oftentimes in your first year, it's interesting. It's like you're so motivated to just dive into sort of like what you're studying. But a lot of the time, it's really hard to like keep perspective of things in the long run. Like you're really only in this program for like, what is it? Like maybe a 20th of your life. Like it's very insignificant the time that you're here. But it often is like an important emphasis on sort of like what you're learning. But I think that sort of when you remove yourself from sort of like the stress of understanding, like, you know, you have to get somewhere with your degree, I guess, like that definitely helps you chill out, but also like help you understand like what it is you're looking for in terms of like higher level education. So
And Enoch, thank you so much for talking to me today. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed. And to everyone out there listening, I hope you also enjoyed getting to learn a little bit about Enoch and Enoch's design sensibilities and work ethic, because I know I did. I learned a lot, actually. Thank you so much for listening. And Enoch, say goodbye to the fine people out there.
Goodbye, good night, and until next time.
Until next time.